Here we go. What up, everybody?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dragonmount's rewatch of The Wheel of Time, Episode 5. Blood Calls Blood.
So excited. This is a
Yes.
good episode.
Yes. I feel like it's controversial. I like it. I'm
I
into
like
this
this episode.
Yeah, me too. All right. So I'm Rebecca. Tom,
I'm
how you doing
Tom.
tonight?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
pretty good.
Um,
I'm sad, though. I'm
yeah,
very
because
sad.
we're missing someone tonight. Ebony cannot be with us. She needed
Empress,
the
may
night
she live
off.
forever. Sorry.
Yes, Empress, may she live forever. Needed the night off, and the Empress gets what she needs. So
Yes, she
that's
does.
good.
Whatever she wants. She.
Yes. But we do have the fabulous Delusions of Grendel with us tonight.
Yes. So here she comes. Yay! Oh my God! Look at
Hey,
she is! Oh my
hey,
God! She's in the
hey,
mountains.
hey.
Sorry.
Delusions, tell everyone, in case they don't know all about you, tell them what they need to know.
Tell them the things. I'm
Yeah, tell 'em
Delusions
the
of
things.
the things. I'm Delusions of Grendel. I've been hanging out in Discord and Twitter for a few years in the fan community. I've been reading the book since '99. I have a podcast, which is spoiler free if you're interested in that, where I take a never reader, basically all the way through Amazon or The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime, spoiler free with like just a few kernels in there for my fellow veteran readers. We are currently doing a rewatch as well, just because unfortunately last December, while Wheel of Time was doing its thing, I was evicting a crotch goblin. So I was unable to,
As one does.
As one does. I was unable to record and edit a podcast. So weird how that works.
I mean, yeah. What kind of excuse is that?
Understandable.
I know.
Understandable.
It's pathetic.
I just want to make sure before I put it on the screen. It is Feather Mount Podcast, right?
Yes, Feather and Mountain Podcast.
Yay,
yeah,
there it is. You can
That's
find
the
them on Twitter right
one.
there.
So we are now doing a rewatch a year later. We've done our episode 1 drop. We are coming out this Thursday with episode 2, and we recorded that with the Wheel Weaves podcast with Danny and Brett.
Yay!
So it's gonna be a good one. It's basically a bunch of Canadians in a room talking shit about the weather for at least half the episode.
Sounds great.
They think it's cold there. They should come up here.
But you guys have done some other stuff too, right? Some non-Wheel of Time stuff also on the pod?
Yes, we did Rings of Power because I switched co-hosts. So I moved from one of my really good buddies. He also, like his wife, also decided to, have a wee bebe. So I've gone, my co-host now is my father. So switch co-hosts and to kind of get us rolling and get us, into the vibe of it all.
Your dad's into like Wheel of Time and fantasy and stuff like that too?
He is into fantasy. He's never read Wheel of Time, even though both my older brother and I did, but he loves Lord of the Rings. So we watched Rings of Power and he was kind of coming at it from the perspective of veteran guy. And then I am a never, ever, ever Tolkien reader.
Awesome.
Hate that guy with a burning passion.
Oh, okay.
But love the world. So adore like the movies, loved Rings of Power. So we've got all 8 Rings of Power episodes up as well. And,
I really enjoyed the Rings of Power a lot.
Yeah,
I
me
loved
too.
it.
Me too.
And I am Hallbrand forever. Like very, very large stan of that very attractive man.
Yeah, man. That last scene
through the end of episode 8.
Yeah, when him and Grendel were going back and forth, and he did the queen more powerful than Dawn. I was like, oh my god,
everything. I wouldn't have said no. Yes, everything is yes. Implied consent, just blanket yes. Let's do this thing.
Yes. Whatever you want, Sauron. Let's go.
All right. So I feel like we have got to talk about some tweets from Rafe Judkins before we start the show tonight. So we finally got some answers. Rafe caught up to us, had some time, and dropped some answers on us this morning. So, I mean, I'm assuming most of y'all are on Twitter and you've seen this, but some people might not be on Twitter these days. So just in case, we're just going to talk about it.
True story. So the week, so we'll go way back to week 2
Yeah,
Reed
start
2's
with Reed 2.
question, which I forgot to have a screenshot of because I'm terrible, was what additional scenes were cut
yeah.
from episode 2 and why, and can we see them, please and thank you.
Yep.
So Rafe's answer to that was multiple parts because apparently he feels very strongly about this, which I love.
Yeah.
So his first answer was one was Lan fighting and killing the Fade and seeing it take down a large group of Trollocs that were controlled by it. It was a great moment for Lan, and it helped lay out the rules of the world. So I'm sad that they cut that because I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said like that was one of the ones, some at the script stage, right? So the ones that I'll talk about too, I missed from the script. So this didn't even get like filmed.
Yeah, that's
Which
important.
was kind of a bummer.
The way he framed it, I'm pretty sure the 3 scenes he mentions here were not filmed. They were cut in the script stage. So, I mean, this one, I feel like at least like we're gonna get something like this at some point, right? We will see Lan take down a Fade. Like I feel 100% sure we're gonna get that scene at some point. So
maybe they're saving it for season 2.
I feel
not like
a little less bad about that than I do the other ones because I feel like we'll get that in some fashion.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, if they, like you said, if they save it for season 2, I mean, I can see them saving it for season 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that need to, there's a lot of Trollocs and Fades that can die in season 2.
For sure.
Yes.
So then the other one was Moiraine's wall of fire when the Trolloc army was chasing them. So there's a lot of, so let me read it just for our viewing impaired people. Another was Moiraine creating her wall of fire to hold back the Trolloc army chasing them. I remember loving that scene in the books, and I missed that we couldn't have it. So, I mean, for obvious budgetary reasons, I feel like they were probably like, not this one.
Well, and I mean, we just seen her rip apart the wine spring in episode 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, how OP do you want to make Moiraine while she's like on not quite her deathbed, but she's really not doing so hot in season or episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of something that I talk about a lot is the inconsistencies in book 1 with the rest of the series. And it's only because Robert Jordan didn't have a lot of stuff fleshed out when he wrote book 1.
Yeah.
He originally, when he was writing the first book, he had originally thought it being a trilogy, and then it was a 6-part series, and then it was an 8-part series, and he's like, you know what, never mind, I don't know how many books this is.
As many as I need.
Exactly.
Just let me live.
So there's a lot of inconsistencies, especially with the One Power from Eye of the World and on. And something that I was excited about, specifically that I talked about before the show even came out, was that Rafe had a chance to kind of not correct it, but he has the whole world in front of him, so he doesn't have to worry about things being retconned in the future because
like something is stepping over the barrel,
the wall,
thing. Yeah, we knew that wasn't going to make it in. Yeah.
Moiraine somehow growing 30 feet tall with One Power. That never happens again. They just conveniently never do it again.
Yeah. So on that, I think you're right, Illusions. I think it's also very, and Tom too, the budget thing, like it was very much a trade-off, right? Like we got all that we got in episode 1 during Winter Night, Moiraine being a badass with the One Power, which was great. And I think it was probably an either or situation. It's like, we can do this big battle in episode 2, or not battle, but we can do this big fight scene in episode 2, or we can do, Winter Night. And makes sense.
Yeah, I liked personally. I really liked that we got to see some of Winter Night on screen. Like,
oh yeah, I think you had to do that. They had to do that. So.
Well, but like more than we saw in the books. Like we saw.
Oh yeah.
People.
We
getting
saw
killed.
nothing in the books.
Yeah,
exactly.
We just saw Ren's perspective, but we got to see people die in the Two Rivers, which was heart wrenching.
Yeah,
this is like my strongest argument for why Wheel of Time should never be a shot by shot remake on TV, because it would be the worst. I challenge you to read Path of Daggers and have that be interesting on TV.
Yeah, no.
It's not just
different. They just have to be. Yeah.
Especially trying to hide who the Dragon Reborn is, doing a shot for shot of the Eye of the World. It's like, oh, you mean the person who has all of the screen time, 90% of the speaking roles, and is the first person we see on screen from this timeline? Is the
Who
Dragon
could it
Reborn?
be?
Shocker. Yeah, for real. Yeah. All right. So what was the third one?
The third one was And bonus third, there's too many, was Lan teaching the boys to defend themselves with swords, staff, axe. Each had its own emotional implications.
Yeah, that one hurts a bit.
That's the one that hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Interesting.
If it's between that or like the wheat for Manetheren, I'm glad that
Yeah.
I think it was Rafe who died on the hill to make sure
did.
that wheat from
did.
Manetheren got in there. He
Yeah.
fought
100%.
tooth and nail for that. So my emotional impact, I'm happy with the changes they've made and what they did with it. It just it sucks because
that one hurts. Yeah,
There was
there's a lot of emotion there. Yeah,
there was a lot of fun interactions in the early like 4 episodes. Well, I guess only 2 because it got split up in Shadow and Shadow Logoth episode 2. But there a lot of those early interactions with Matt and Rand and Perrin and Egwene were fun. Like, you know, my lady throws fireballs. I'm like, you know, it was. So I'm glad we got what we got. That would have been fun. But
I mean, I think I really hope they make that up by doing Lan and Rand training scenes in season 2. Because I think they can do that. I don't think the rest of it's just going to have to go. But I think they can do Lan and Rand, and I hope that they do.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it in like season 3 too, just because in terms of like where season 2 starts and finishes, I don't know where we would find time to have the training.
I think if you were just going off of books, yes. But I think with the preview that we've gotten of season 2 that reveals like being in Kyrian, like Maureen is going to be in Kyrian, I think that's where, you know, if Rand also is there, which would make sense, then you can get them connecting at some point. So.
You're telling me there's a possibility to get Lan and Rand on the rooftop.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It would be nice.
I'm living for that.
I'll put it on my bingo card.
Okay. All right. So take us to another. He answered 2 more questions. So what do we got?
So then we have week 3. So our question was, what made you choose the tone and theme of Man Who Can't Forget for Tom's first song? We also love it, and will it ever be released to buy or stream? We wanted Tom to have more of an Old West vibe to him in the show, so that brought a lot of tone of the song. But Dave Hill actually wrote the lyrics for The Man Who Can't Forget about the dragon himself after he broke the world. ReWoTch, and you'll see how it hits Rand. Ooh, that's interesting.
I think any reader would definitely know that was about Rand. I don't know about people who
are
like
pretty keyed in on him, like watching. Like it.
So that part was very clear, but
especially because at that point he knows, or at least he
strongly suspects, even though we hadn't seen him like channeling yet. Because he doesn't break down the door till later in that episode. But yeah, he definitely suspects because of Winter
what
Night.
Tam said to him.
Yeah. So okay.
And then we have
I like that. That's a fun question.
Yeah, that was a good one. I just
Cowboy
really
Tom.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I
with
see
his guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I love him too. Oh man, real quick side note. Alexander Willem, I believe I'm pronouncing his name. He posted on Instagram, like, you know, a Wheel of Time picture of him, like he was having fun on set or something. And I was like, can we please have a buddy cop show where you play Tom and Idris Elba plays Julian Sandar? Thank you very much. And he liked it. So
I will say, like, spoilers.
Okay.
Idris Elba is my fan cast for Ravine.
Oh, okay.
I had not considered him for Julian. I will accept it, but I'd prefer.
I think
I like
you're
him.
Right.
I like him.
I think you were 100% right about between those two. Yes, he should be Ravine.
Think about this. Julian Sandar. He's basically Batman. Like he jumps across the rooftops of Tyr and solves crimes and beats the crap out of criminals.
Minus the billionaire part. So
I didn't say he was Bruce Wayne. I said he's Batman.
Better than Batman.
Yeah, he's better than Batman. And like, how awesome would just him and Tom be just like, solving crimes. Like I could see like a
I'd watch
Sherlock
it.
Holmes-esque
Okay, I'd watch
buddy
it.
cop. Yeah,
I
would
love
watch
it. I love it.
All right.
But yeah, no, I love him. I would love him as Rob.
Yeah.
It's just not enough
as
screen
Robin
time.
is
I just want to see more Idris Elba. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean,
hey,
if we're only doing 8, I think we might be able. And
That's
like,
fair.
if they're introducing them early, maybe we can get a couple seasons. I don't know. This is
Yeah.
like the headcanon that I'm living with right now.
I'll
yeah,
take
just
it.
go with it. Yeah.
I'll live in that canon.
I like to hold on to mine as long as I can too.
So the other bit of news that came out in the last week was that
Oh wait, we
Michael-
forgot one answer.
what was it?
Oh,
Did we do-
episode 4 with
We didn't do 4.
yeah,
I didn't do 4.
Jenny the
Jenny.
dog. We
I was
gotta learn
distracted
about
by
Jenny
it.
the dog. Yeah, all right. A little too much
All right.
Idris Elba.
Is Jenny the dog really a dog? This is our question. Or is she code for something else? And is this the way Alana reminded Maureen, I can keep your secrets? Rafe's answer was Jenny the dog is really a dog. She is an Irish wolfhound, hard to hide. And yes, Alana is subtly reminding Maureen of their friendship and her ability to keep most secrets, something that we'll see more of in season 2.
Yes.
Yes.
More Alana in
More
season 2.
Priyanka. Let's
just
go.
Love
She's the
her.
best.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I'm just the image of Maureen trying
got
to
one.
hide the Irish wolfhounds in her bed is funny.
Did they remind me? Did they say Irish Wolfhound in the show, or is that just like
No.
a fun little thing
No,
that
no.
the writers must have put in
Yeah.
there, like
Totally.
the
I'm-
bitch please from like the script or whatever
Yeah.
that
no,
they show?
Yeah.
I think Rafe made that up on the spot, but that's fine.
I love
It wasn't in the script. It was just. In fact, I'm pretty sure Alana said "little dog," but maybe I don't know. I'd have to go back and check that. That was in my mind.
Rewatch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rewatch. Okay.
Rewatch it. That's what we're going to do.
Speaking of, we should probably get to our episode pretty soon.
Yes,
here.
yes. We will get to it in a minute. I just wanted to. Well, the thing I was going to say was the other bit of news that we had in the last week was that Michael Livingston's The Origins of the Wheel of Time came out
Yes.
all over the
Go
world.
check it out.
Oh my God, it was so good.
So
I read
good.
it
I'm still making my way through it. I'm
immediately.
fine with spoilers, but like I'm like
No, we're not
trying
going to
to
spoil
savor.
anything because
Like-
people who are watching have not necessarily read. So
Yes.
plus it's full book spoilers too. So
It's 100% full book spoilers. He does
Yeah.
give multiple warnings before
He gives
So,
multiple warnings.
read the
yeah.
book if you haven't finished the series. But it's
Unless you don't
very
care.
good.
The,
Yeah,
I
the-
like.
but don't.
The only thing I want to say is, and we'll talk about it in maybe I'll probably mention it. So I'm going to be interviewing him on November 26th on my Saturday Live. So come check that out. But he confirms, not really, but like there's something in that book that confirms an earlier theory I had about the show.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm
Specifically,
excited for that.
when I did my review of episode 8. So if you go watch my review of episode 8 on YouTube, on Dragon Match YouTube, there's a theory I have during that episode. And there's a bit in the glossary that I feel like, in my humble opinion, pretty much confirms.
Speaks to that. Okay, because I'm curious because I had an opportunity to chat very briefly with Michael Kramer, who did the audiobook narration, and the one thing he said that really got me fired up about Origins was that there's a lot of themes that Jordan had in his notes that never made it onto the book page, but are now starting to play out in the TV show, which just shows, yes, like Rafe and writers have like full access to like Jordan's notes. They know what they're doing. It just like reaffirmed my like trust in this series, my faith in Rafe. And like I'm excited to see exactly what those themes are. And I guess tune in on November 26th to hear you breaking it down.
Yeah. And we also interviewed Michael Livingston at Jordan Con, and that interview is also on Dragon Mount. He's just amazing. I love him.
Go watch that out, because that was like a extensive interview. So definitely want to check it out.
Okay, so now for those who haven't been with us before, we are going to be watching today episode 5, Blood Calls Blood, of Amazon Prime Video's The Wheel of Time. You can see in the bottom corner over here of my screen, there's like a little timer. So when I press play on our watch party that we are watching together, us in the stream, I will press play on that. So you could follow along if you lose your place or have to get up and go to the bathroom or something. You could just catch right back up to where we are by following that timer. I believe I fixed it for people that have been before. I accidentally had it set to like 60 frames, but I was playing it in 30 frames, so it was coming out slow or some nonsense. I think I fixed it. I'm not a video editor, so I apologize.
But get ready to press play on your episode on Amazon Prime.
I will be going
And
in
Tom will give you a countdown.
Yes, I will give you a countdown. I'll be going in a few seconds. I just want to remind you there is the ticker scrolling across the bottom. As you see stuff coming up on screen, if you have any kind of questions that pop in your mind, just throw them in the chat, and I will save them, and we will go through them. Me, Delusions, and Rebecca are going to go through them after the show, and we're going to compile a list to put the 4 up for the poll for Rafe to answer our next week's question. So, if there's something that's just interesting that you see in a scene, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that was, or I wonder how they did, just throw it in the chat. Make sure to get it out there while we're talking.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Right,
Let me pull up my watch party, which is here. And then I'm going to open up my thingamajigger, which is over here. And I'm going to press play on one and the other. We will not be skipping the recap. If you are unfortunate enough to get the promotion before the video, I'm sorry, just jump.
Skip that.
Catch back up when you get to us. But we won't skip the recap. Anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. And we're playing. And it's working. Okay, good. All right. And I suggest playing it with the captions because you find out some interesting stuff in the captions.
You've got to put the captions on for sure.
Yes. Because you guys watched it with captions last week when, is it in episode 4 or episode 3 when Maureen just like breathes Suan? And you can't hear it? Yes.
It's episode 3 and you totally have to have that. And then there's like all the like whistling that shows up now and then. Like there's a lot of reasons why you got to have those captions on.
Which we get in this episode specifically.
Yeah, we do get some of that in this.
Oh my god, I love Abdul Silas. That's the guy that plays Iman Balda. Not dead, by the way.
Horrifying.
Yeah,
horrifying. Of course, he in my mind can't be dead. No. You don't take an actor like that, and you do not take a Love Actually actor and kill him off in episode.
No, he's not dead. Come on.
Oh my god! If I ever meet him, I'm just going to ask him questions about Love Actually the entire time.
Love Actually exclusively.
I will be
that
wearing
was Denise Richards.
Oh man, this is a great
god.
Scene.
This cold open,
easily one of my favorites, next to Blood Snow. Yeah,
always Blood Snow.
So they're doing this is the Borderlander tradition of burying, of how they're burying the dead here. They're returning them to the Earth Mother, and they say that.
Right, and then this is like a nearly silent cold open. The only line we get is just "May the last embrace of the mother welcome you home." That's it.
I know. So powerful to like open and close the episode with like different traditions. I really like how it expands the world.
Yes. And it was interesting, like when I first saw this, because I'm like, okay, all the other cold opens have been like, separated in time or something like that. And so it kind of seemed like, oh, this is interesting because it's just continuing right from where we left off, but then you get the time jump. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Watching their Nynaeve just like fingering her braid and just like gently reminding herself, like that's her source of comfort. Like
absolutely.
It's, you're never alone when you have that, basically.
Call back.
That was one of my favorite bits. One of my favorite bits that they added was that about the braid in episode 1.
Yeah.
Easily one of my favorite things.
Very helpful that they did that.
For me, it saves, for me personally, because Nynaeve annoys me a lot early in the books. It saves her character because I love show Nynaeve absolutely from beginning to end. Love her.
I mean, I think they've tweaked her in other ways too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that bit, because in the book she uses the braid as like a look, I'm a woman, and she kind of just grabs it as like a nervous twitch. They never really add any kind of depth.
Yeah,
to
it has more meaning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do wonder if that was like part of the notes or if that was something that R2J2 wanted to add in himself.
I love that nickname so much. It makes me so happy. So there's a bit here that's in the trivia that I want to pull up because it's freaking weird. So the trivia in this scene says The last embrace of the mother is the borderlander tradition of welcoming the body of an individual into the land. In the books, Aes Sedai carries her own death shroud with her, usually the color of her Aja. This tradition was changed for the show, with them burying the dead in white.
Yeah.
So they're saying basically so in the books, for those who haven't read them, pretty much every Aes Sedai has a shawl. Like a shawl. It's just like
they all have one. It's in their Aja color.
Yeah, it's an accessory. Not all women, not just women, but mostly women wear like over. If you have like a dress on and you want to cover your shoulders or something. They're different materials. Some are silk, some are wool, some are lace, some are not. But they're all the Aes Sedai in the books wear them. They're a color. They're their Aja color with a teardrop on it. They never mention it being a death shroud ever. I want to say, but someone in chat correct me. But like I never remember.
No, not in the actual books. Like maybe I missed it in the glossary.
That's what I was saying.
I read maybe. Shawl.
I was going to grab the glossary off my shelf, but I forgot to do that before.
Ran out of time, but
I do have the companion in front of me, but I don't know if it would be in there. Let's hold on. Let me see if it's in the Great Hunt first.
But that was weird. That was weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
What's this? Still love that intro.
Oh, it's so good.
My wife.
I also really love like the constant imagery of the wheels that we get with the cinematography, like just like pulling out from that and like
even that
constant
shot
wheel
of the overhead shot of the burial that we just saw, that circular wheel shape. Yeah. Yep.
I forgot that it was a month later. I forgot that. They said that.
I mean, it's like you got to cut out some of that travel time. It makes sense to do it.
Like I understand fans who are upset that we didn't actually get to see Cathor snuggling in bushes. I too was sad that we did not get the hand holding and
we did get that one scene in the barn last episode.
That's right.
I liked that they were laying next to each other in the bed. Like that was nice. Like
I know.
So one little bit that was here that I enjoyed was the boots in the saddle.
Yeah.
That's like
That's
like a military thing that they would do. Like
so like for Green Aja, it makes sense. And I noticed in a later scene in this episode when I think it's that when they see that when they're walking through the city, you hear like gasps from the crowd when they see the boots, or the empty saddle and the boots.
Yeah, especially an empty saddle next to a man who probably is a warder. And he's wearing the ring around his neck. So all of the people of Tar-Valon probably know what that means.
Yeah, it's immediately clear what's happened, which is shocking.
Which brings me to another trivia that was during this episode that raised my eyebrows a little bit. But I just want to check chat real quick to see what you guys are saying about that. What happened to the green stone in the ring? They take it out. We know that.
I think he takes it out in that first scene when he is covering her, because you can see him like put it around his neck and it's missing at that point. So I think he takes it out.
It's an interesting take on it. Jason. I like that. I would be cool if they were terangrial in some way. That would be interesting.
That sharp contrast of like Matt just like striking down that kid is the best way to show what the dagger is doing to him, especially on the heels of episode 4 with Helga Grinwell.
Oh yeah.
Oh and like God, he looks awful.
One line, he's not okay. Like just from that one tiny interaction.
And then Jason, of course, reminds himself that Valda's rings have stones in them, so that probably isn't what happens. But yes, I do still like the idea of them being terangrial. They don't have to have the gem disappear. But the other bit that came up was Tar-Valon is considered one of the greatest cities, arguably the most beautiful city in the world. Built with the help of talented builders, the city is situated on an island 8 miles long, 2 miles wide, surrounded by gleaming walls of light. There are approximately 500,000 people living on the island.
That tiny island. Yeah.
Like that's a lot of semen in that island. I'll tell you what.
And we never hear of one whorehouse ever, which is weird.
Right.
But I mean, the shape of the tower itself. I mean,
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Majestic. So strong.
We got to
rigid.
Look at it. Look at they erected that
Unyielding.
tower and it stands tall above.
It's the balls for me.
It is.
like-
It's that.
It really is. There's a image of Tarvalon hanging in the entryway of Robert Jordan's home. It was 12 years ago when I went there. That the tower and Tarvalon look exactly like that. Like that's what they look like.
Interesting.
So I wonder if like maybe Brandon showed that to them or Harriet showed that to them.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and they,
Because I've seen different, takes on it, but that's interesting. Yeah.
I missed this like so many times on my first watch. Like,
Which one?
could not see Padden Fane.
All the
Pat
Padden
and
Fane.
Fane.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
constantly.
multiple little you
like
see
he
a
should be
shot
coming up soon,
from
right?
his
Second, yeah.
perspective, I think, at some point, and you hear the whistling.
Yeah, I remember like
Um,
outside of it, but there's like one. I think it's here
coming
where he's
right
just
up.
like creeping.
Melodic whistling right there. It just happened.
Yeah.
And then
This
he is
right
shot
there.
is his
Yeah,
POV.
yeah,
There's
that's
just-
him.
there's-
That's him.
Yep, that's him.
Yep.
Yep.
Just
Yeah,
his hands
totally missed it, and like that
Yeah.
gentle little whistle. It probably took me like 3 or 4 times.
there. I love
Yeah.
it so much. Wouldn't it be great if he's like whistling Dance with the Jacko Shadows or something? Like it ends up being a song.
Oh my gosh.
I just love him so much. He's so great.
This is rough.
I'm such a Barney Harris fan,
Mhm.
and I'm happy we had him to take us through like Daggermat. Like I'm excited
Daggermat.
for Donal, but I'm
very excited for
really
him.
happy we had Barney.
Yeah.
This is such a, he needs to be reassured again and again that he didn't kill the Grinwells. This is a gut-wrenching scene.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
He's more upset about the little girl than anything else.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's, when people talk about the changes from the book and how they're upset with Abel Cawthon and Natty Cawthon kind of just being like shitty people. Unfortunately, it is what makes Matt. Like we have to understand very quickly why he's got this attachment to his sisters.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way to explain it to the audience, right?
Yeah.
I loved this Matt, and I didn't like Matt in The Eye of the World. So I think it was great choices for Matt specifically.
Yeah, it like the type of person that Matt is, even in the books, is a specific type of person, like someone that uses humor to cover up pain, and like someone who's usually like the class clown type of person, generally tend to have a broken home in some way. And the fact that none of these characters have any kind of trauma in their lives prior to this stuff is a little unrealistic.
Changing the topic here, but I always like to point out that like this line that Maureen had in here, do not underestimate the women in this tower. I remember that from one of the first little teasers.
Trailers. Oh my God.
And it was like this, tiny little clip. And we were all like, what is she saying? Like, are they going to be in the tower? Because at that point we didn't know.
Yeah.
I know, such a one-off line, hey?
I know.
And even having just watched episode 2, do you remember when they were doing those audio-only clips? And when Egwene was like, are you ready? And then Marcus Rutherford had to jump in and be like, no. And they put that in like the audio teaser that they gave everyone.
So
but
random.
It was definitely not in the show.
Yeah.
I love this scene. Just Maureen just is really like opening up like in this scene. She, it's not her usual like just guard up. And
now this is manipulating Maureen. This is Maureen going time this string over here.
Little Kyrie and Maureen.
Sure, she needs to get like Nynaeve, to any degree that she can on her side. But I do think it's genuine too.
She's
like
tying her to the tower.
What she's saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure she cares, but her first, in my opinion, for Maureen, the first thing that's in her head is the mission.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
In which it would be helpful to have Nynaeve not hate her. That would be helpful.
But also trained as an Aes Sedai, which is what she
that
wants.
too. Yeah. But I think she means what she's saying about like what touching the one power for the first time means and what the reaction to that is, and she's opening up a little bit there. So I liked it.
Oh man, especially like I'm still so fresh on the heels of episode 2, and like the Valda's menacing line, like I will remember your faces, and I think it's just like packed such a powerful punch as we approach here, because like Perrin and Egwene were in the background, and like how is he able to actually retain their faces that well? Like it's horrifying. This man's attention to detail.
It's even more horrifying later. Oh, we'll get to it then, but like when he's talking about just the fact that he's seen the two of them twice now, and that means like everything to him. Like that tiny little occurrence. It's pretty chilling.
Yeah, he doesn't miss a single beat. Ugh. I also hate so much that he has made me like Aram.
Yeah, I know. I was literally just about to say that. We talked about
I like it, but yes, it is a bit of a shock to all of a sudden like Aram.
Because what did I say last week? Because Aram in the book, he's such a bro. Like he's like a bro. Like
I was going to call him an F boy. Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah,
exactly. And this Aram is actually like a likable, genuine person.
Like legitimately charming.
Yeah. Just a good dude. Oh, here we go.
There he is.
Yeah.
Well, question for Rafe. Will Perrin and Aram kiss?
Bring it on.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. Here it is. Yep. Split second.
And for everyone that says the Tinkers are cowards.
Exactly. Right. This scene shows
the whole, like the way that they did the Tinkers, and I'm like, I love the Tuathon after this. And now like I understand why they cast this actress in such a small role. And I'm really excited for future seasons when and if she comes back.
Yeah, I hope so. It would be great.
Maria Doyle Kennedy.
Yeah, MDK.
Yes. MDK. Yeah, we all were sort of wondering, like we talked about this I guess last episode. Like we were all sort of like surprised that she was cast in this role until you see her in it and you're like, oh yeah.
Never mind. I get it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Her nose bleeding and just like the linking of arms.
Yeah.
Let's go Tuathon.
You could cover the light with a child's hand.
Mm-hmm.
But a leaf, you can even crush it and it returns to the
earth. She just like closes her eyes and
just like watching Valda just like turn it to the left, like do his bidding, especially in like the climate that we're in right now. Just
if we needed more reasons to hate Valda, here they are.
That's an interesting bit there. 5 minutes. If you could add 5 minutes to this episode.
Yeah, that's sort of been the classic question that we've had with any of these, but yes.
I do love that they've made the White Cloaks much more of a real scary.
They're terrifying.
They're
terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they're going to leverage that. I think throughout.
Yeah. I'm so happy this entire sequence was left in.
Rand, yeah. Here he comes.
Oh dear, you humans are very excitable.
Now, honest opinion, what was your first reaction to seeing Loyal?
I was like, in this scene, I loved it. I mean, I think when you see it in a still, it's different. But when I see Hamid as Loyal, like, and his performance, that makes it for me.
I when he first walked onto camera, I was like, because he was shorter than I was expecting, and but then as soon as he spoke, I was like, never mind.
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah.
The way he delivers his lines, he and the things that he says are so like, because he's smart. He's very smart. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's like in his 90s. He's been reading his entire life. He's an intellectual, while at the same time, for the Ogier, a 90-year-old is like a child. Like he is like a 15, 16-year-old. And
he's got this eagerness to him, and
he has the eagerness, but he also has this unfilteredness to the things that he says. Like, you humans are so excitable, and then like he says, "Oh, look, an Aielman who doesn't know he's going to do it in a second." Like he doesn't think about, like, he's like a child in that way. Like, because children will always just be like, they'll just say crap, like like
you can very much tell that this is his first interaction with people, and he has not honed his social skills, nor does he think
children will humble you.
But it's adorable. But I just love Hamid. I think he's a really brilliant actor, because this is hard to pull this off. This kind of characterization of a non-human, it's really difficult.
Oh, and I have a little so Kathy and I know Kathy interviewed Hamid for our show, but I have a little fun fact.
Wheel of Time fun fact.
When she was talking to Hamid, he said that he keeps all of the pockets fit books, and he does keep books in them. And
nice.
Simultaneously, she asked, like, what was the most difficult part of the costume to put on. But he said simultaneously, like, the hands. Because when he puts the hands on, he can't really do anything.
Yeah,
right.
But at the same time, when he puts the hands on, he becomes loyal, because that's what changes him the most. Because, like, he can't see the facial prosthetic. He could feel them a little bit. He can't see the wig. He can't see the clothes when he's, in the character.
There's fun and fame, by the way.
Hey, baby.
When he puts those hands on, he can't even interact with the world in the same way. So he has to kind of change. He changes himself when he puts them on. So he's like, that's
pretty crazy.
That's what changed.
I just think there is value in the choice of, like,
excited chatter and gasping when they saw the boots.
Making it a design that an actor can do, as opposed to designing the Ogier to look more like the description, but you can't have an actor just like play the part.
Yeah. Rafe also said, during like a Q&A on Instagram, I believe, basically they had a choice.
Yes.
More book accurate Ogier, but less screen time for them overall, or slightly less book accurate Ogier and more screen time for them overall.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, just meeting Hamid, like, sealed the deal as to what you want, because like hearing that voice and seeing him, I'm really excited to get more of him, hopefully on screen in season 2.
I want to know if you guys think that he's really laughing here, or is this just in Matt's mind? Because the next cut right here is back to him, and he looks,
like he's not. Okay, so I want to know too. Gonna go book spoilers a little bit.
Okay, how far?
Okay. When do we find this out? Pretty far.
Okay, all right. So consider, later book.
Spoiler alert.
Because we find out that the reason Logain is laughing is because he has the same talent as Suan, right? Like, he can see Taviran. Right. And in this moment, with him looking up this time, which is different from the book, and seeing both Matt and Rand, and like Rand's going to be glowing like the sun, but Matt is also going to be, glowing a little bit. Like, they must have just been like,
both of them will be going
Ludra's
really
fireworks show right now.
Here's another question, though. Can he do that while gentle? Because he was not gentle at that point in the book.
Yeah. Does he still have? Well, it's a talent, right? So it's not necessarily linked to channeling. It's like a talent, capital T.
Yeah.
So I think it depends. It depends. So, like, in the books, if the talent to see Taviran is directly tied to the one power. Only people that have the one power have it, and specifically Suan loses it when she is severed and gets it back when she.
Okay, so he should.
And Robert Jordan directly has said that. Like,
he shouldn't be able to see it
unless they change it, which they can. So.
Right. Okay, but I would guess that he doesn't see it there. That would be my guess.
because that like I'm happy to have it be paranoia. If it is the
Mhm.
paranoia, then I'm happy that Rafe kept it in so that we, like the book readers, can be like,
It's a
there it is.
nod.
That's what I
Yes.
needed.
Because that is a moment I loved from the books. I really did.
Yeah, it was a nice little, nudge, because in the books he wasn't gentled yet, so he
No,
could
right.
actually see Rand, and he
Yeah.
was actually laughing. So
Yes, for sure.
I actually didn't know that Jordan had said that
it was
it was lost with Suan when she was severed.
So there's a fun resource that actually Innkeeper Hatch has over on theoryland.com, where you can literally just word search all of Robert Jordan's interviews that have ever happened.
Yes.
They're dictated verbatim into the website, and I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
I used to be, I still love the Wheel of Time, but when I was younger, I was very obsessed with the Wheel of Time, and I read all of them. The interviews, not just the books, but the interviews.
Yeah.
Kathy is in there as Dog Girl. So if you want to see something funny, Google Robert Jordan Dog Girl, and there's an interview that's around that, and that's Kathy. That's our producer, Kathy, that he is talking to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you guys think about this scene. So I love Steppen in this episode, and I think that overall, like, serves a really important purpose for a lot of characters.
Yes.
This was the one scene that I thought they maybe could have trimmed down in this particular episode to make room for something else of the Steppen stuff. This was the only one where I thought, okay, they maybe gave it a little bit more than they had to. But I mean, I still like it, but I'm just curious your thoughts on it.
You know what? Because we don't get a lot of Warder time in the books until we get a little bit later. And even that, like, Sleet is not, if that's my representation of Warders, gimme more.
It's pretty
Britney
woeful.
Spears.
Yeah.
I really like what they're talking about here, is because we've had so much emphasis on women in the White Tower and what the White Tower has done for women and for Aes Sedai, and given them like this very a family that is like a little deceptive, like you can't really trust them. And I really like here what they're focusing on is that, like, the men have a family too. Like, Warders have family. Like, it has saved lives, and that this is a choice. Like, to go to the White Tower for a man you're not just like a serving boy, as Rand said to Land in episode 2. Like, it's a real commitment, and it really, I don't know. I like that it really focuses on why men would choose a path like this, because there's been so much focus on the female.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. I mean, like, I was thinking more of like, okay, this whole exploration of Warders and Aes Sedai impacts a number of characters. And without getting into spoilers, we know that, this is going to be a huge deal for several characters later on that this is informing. But yeah, it's just a general, thought of like why a man would choose this is a good point. The other thing I noticed in this whole sequence here that I thought was interesting, I didn't notice before, is like, Steppen is the only one wearing white here, which feels very isolating, I think, as he goes through this whole part of this ritual. And like, there's no like solidarity from anybody else, at least wearing white. Like, at the end of the episode, we see everybody's wearing white. And I just thought that was an interesting choice.
Unless this is like the Warders also recognizing, like, this is like your moment, you're putting the ring in, you're like, this is your like independent grief.
I'm sure that's the thought process behind it, of like, we're really highlighting how crucial it is to the Warder specifically, but I think it also feels isolating, and that it was something I hadn't thought about when I watched it in the first place.
The backstory of some of the Warders gave there too, of like why they became Warders, and like where, like, when he was saying where Corinne found him was interesting.
And this is one of my favorite little scenes in the episode, because it's silent and just the two of them just acting without words, and it's incredible.
Yeah, this is like the only way to be able to do the bond visually on screen without having them speak. And they do it very well in episode 1 as well. where Maureen is standing in like the town square and she's talking to Lan, and Lan doesn't say a word back to her, but she
responds,
speaks to him as if he's responding to her.
Yeah. I guess here's another scene. I think this episode in particular is really good on scenes with no dialogue or minimal dialogue that do a lot. Like this scene,
the assault of Egwene without being sexual is very intense. Like it's the focus on the hands, the scrubbing
under her
raw.
nails.
It's really disturbing. I mean, the way they even take out her hair and just the whole thing. It's intense.
He's always just like, he's always eating.
Why is he always eating?
Just I love that. But I don't know why I like it. It's so weird.
It is effective.
He is unhinged. For an interrogation tactic. It shows like a nonchalantness
it's brutal.
Yeah, especially with what they're doing.
Right, like he's going to cut Perrin just like he's cutting that pig.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
4?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I didn't see tusks.
Even like him eating with the knife he's just everything he does is so intentional.
Every detail of him is just
his voice is so great too. See,
I'm so happy this was included because I am very curious for how they're going to keep exploring this.
I just wish
a good way to do it. Yeah.
I just wish they would have made it a bit more impactful. Like this is episode 5 of season 1. Like it would have been cool if they built that up a bit more and then
I guess
and then kicked that out. Because like now it's just, like he told us. Like it would have been cooler if, like all of a sudden there's an Aiel channeling and her arms at her sides and so they're like, what's happening?
If we'd seen. Right.
There can be callbacks, I mean.
Although, I mean, we saw Nynaeve in the last episode, right? Where she wasn't like throwing her hands out. So maybe it's kind of building on the heel of that. We just saw her explode and the power like burst from her. Yeah. And like this, I'm still, especially again, when we'd last seen him in episode 2, like the way Moiraine identifies him went to Lan after is like, he is the one who has been killing. Like, do you think he's the one who has been killing my sisters? And it's like, clearly they know it's one White Cloak. There is something special about this one guy that he's able to do this.
Yeah.
He said something really interesting just now. He said, but you can touch the one power. He said, I know you can.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And he's basing that entirely on the fact that he's now seen her randomly twice. That alone is enough for him to be absolutely convinced that that's why he's seeing her.
He has.
I think he has a Angriel.
Yeah, that'd be too. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think he's just a fanatic. I think it's showing his state of mind. That's like, okay, I've seen these people twice now. That must mean something. And the only thing I care about is eradicating people who can channel. So therefore, that's what it means. And I think that's totally his fanaticism. And it makes it extremely chilling to me that he thinks that based off of this tiny little coincidence.
Absolutely could be that. I personally think, and I'll get to it in a second. Well, I mean, I guess we can talk about it now because it's this episode. I think that he has an Aes Sedai in a tent somewhere tied up that he uses to heal him when he gets hurt. And I think that's what's going to happen. Like when we're going to get a scene like he's going to be alive, and then we're going to get a flashback of his men dragging him to a tent and some Aes Sedai with like her eyes out and like her tongue removed, like healing him. That's like his healing slave that he has.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's my theory for Emon Valda and why.
That's really fun. Yeah. Cause oh my God.
So I like the Terangriel idea too. That's what I thought too about that.
So one of my questions for this episode with respect to Valda, because I love this actor. We've already talked about him, but like the scene of him taking the same knife that he was, just eating the pig and then like cleansing it with wine and then going and like cutting Perrin very intentionally and deliberately? Was that in the script, or was that like part of forgive me, I can't remember the director. Is this
The director for this,
it's Sally Richardson, I want to
yes,
say.
it is Sally Richardson
Okay.
Whitfield. Yeah.
Yes. And so I want to know if that was like a decision she made, or if that was very intentional in the writer's room.
Yeah.
Because
Or it
it
could
was
even be
brilliant.
Abdul Salis. I mean, yeah, that is an interesting question.
Oh,
So awesome. I just love him.
Yeah, he looks like hell.
Mm-hmm. I'm also not a fan of the shifting into a wolf brother and then shifting back. Like, I really hope it's like it's just this early wolf brotherness, and then
like
he just
it's a
becomes
temporary thing. Yeah, I mean, I would love it if at some point it is a permanent fixture of his eyes. That could still happen.
I could see, like, the actor, like an actor having to wear contacts for episode, like,
I mean,
episodes for a season is tough. But
I don't know if they're doing it with contacts or if they're doing it as
that scene
like,
probably wasn't.
Yeah, I think that was like VFX.
But that's
VFX,
that's very different when it's like a still you're looking at the camera than like an action scene where they can't CG that for the whole thing. He'll have to wear contacts if he does it.
I mean, I'm not unhappy with like doing a more gradual transition, because the one thing in the Eye of the World is like we have Perrin with his brown eyes, and then all of a sudden one day they're gold, and we don't release, like, how does this, was it just an overnight thing? Was it the second he started talking or hearing communication? So I kind of like the way that they're approaching this with, like, in that scene where it's like it's starting and there's like some connection, and maybe one day it'll stay, or maybe
it's a good visual way to communicate. Like I said, if it's a gradual thing where like he has to come into this part of his nature and it's not something that's just a switch that gets flipped, then I like that way to communicate it.
My hope is that they don't make it like a werewolf type thing. Like, it's like, he's like, not like he turns into a wolf, but like he is like he's normal Perrin, and then he shifts to wolf brother Perrin. And then shifts back to normal Perrin. Like, I hope that.
Yeah, that they might need to be careful with that. Yeah.
I love the architecture in this, by the way. It's awesome. Another tidbit from the trivia from this, by the way, was they really most of this is filmed in the warders barracks, and they did that specifically because the warders barracks is never seen in the books. It's only talked about. They're never in the warders barracks. So
cool.
Your timer is off a little bit. I don't know how.
Did it do it again?
It's at like we're at 37 and it's hanging around at 18 minutes.
What the fuck?
Oh boy. No one even said anything. That's so weird.
It did it again. I don't understand. Like, I had it set to the right one. Maybe I have to set it to 60 frames per second. I'll fix it. I'll use my old short timer that is done right, but is too short.
So I definitely think right there is a scene that got cut of Nynaeve meeting Loial.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And I do wonder, do you think they filmed it?
That one, I would guess they filmed, because like this would be a weird way to keep the script if you hadn't, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm guessing. I could be wrong.
I think it was filmed too, and I'm hopeful it'll come out as one of the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
There's actually, and I'm gonna grab it real quick. So when the show first came out, we were lucky enough to be like added to the Amazon press release stuff. So
Nice.
we got the episodes early and we got to watch them so we could film stuff. But they gave us access to the Amazon Press website so that we could get assets for like the stuff.
Hmm.
And I still have that access. But there's an image that I'm going to grab and put up on screen in a second. That is definitely a deleted scene from the moment that you're talking about.
Okay. Good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wonder, like, especially on the heels of Rings of Power and how well that did with its runtime, if with season 2 they'll be given a little bit longer episodes
I
and
think
things like that can stay in.
Confirmed that they would have longer episodes in season 2. So that's something that I think is definite.
Awesome.
My only worry is they did not increase the budget that much the last time we heard about it. It was like 79 million up from 74 million.
Oh, is that really? I hadn't heard those specific numbers. Huh.
That was almost a year ago at this point. So we'll see.
I think I had definitely heard like a more vague discussion of an increase for season 2 without any numbers attached to it.
Without being numbered. And I don't know if Erie from What Series, Geeky Erie, had done like her sleuthing, because she, I think, was the one who gave us what the budget really looked like for season 1.
Which was crazy because they had to, like, completely build multiple sets and stuff, stuff that they did not plan for because of, Barney and COVID and all that.
I love it that like the Breakbone Fever. I'm so like, this is another one of those people. I understand we're like hit and miss about episode 5, just like focusing on Steppen when none of that was in the book. But it's like all of these little like, I love being able to
Just
take a
little
step
tidbits.
back and just like sit with the characters for a second, sit in the world.
Mhm.
This is for sure a high ranking episode for me because of moments like this.
These characters, I mean, Rand and Nynaeve are like maybe my favorite like pairing of characters if I had to pick. And so I love that we get this scene between.
They don't get much screen time in the books together outside of book 1. Like you don't get a lot of.
They do more than a
later.
lot of the other Emmons
way later
do. But now we're getting into spoilers, so I'm
I mean, but like saying that 2 characters talk isn't that big of a spoiler. But we won't say what happens. But way later is different. But it's not the same as now when they're still babies to the world.
But I think in general, like, their relationship is just very important. So
all right, so here's that image that I was mentioning. So it's them looking at a map, probably of the ways, maybe, or how to get to
okay, I've seen that. I've seen that. But I think I thought that was from episode 6. I'm pretty sure that one was from episode 6, because look at how Maureen is dressed.
Look at
it's in
Maureen
the episode
is
5
like dressed to the nines for that one. That's before she goes to see.
Yeah. So maybe it's from the end of this episode, because it's under the episode 5.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting, but it's definitely how Maureen looks in episode 6 as opposed to how she looks in this episode.
Yeah,
like, she doesn't have that fancy like dress and hair in this episode, but she does in episode 6. So.
There's also the image of from episode 1, the image of Egwene coming out of the pool is included in.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a few. So this kills me right here. Like, Perrin is finally like confessing what happened on Winter Night, and he's doing it because he thinks he's the one who like deserves to die, and that just breaks my heart.
Someone also pointed out, I think it was Lee Science, that Perrin is still wearing his wedding ring.
Oh, good.
So you can see it when like he does the wolf thing. You can see both of his hands.
Yeah. Marcus is killing it.
Every single person is an amazing actor. Like, I haven't like, there's not a single.
Cast is really phenomenal. Yeah.
Just like Egwene, Maddie.
Yeah. I didn't even get to comment on her before, but her in this scene and before, when she's like talking to Valda and she's just like, do it. Like, I love her.
This is another change that I actually really liked from the books, was the two of them just doing this solo.
Yeah, I agreed.
'Cause they didn't
That
really
they
need
didn't.
anyone else. And
No,
this is
it's
like a
much
nice
more
way.
efficient to get themselves out of here without an
With
intervention.
the wolves did help them,
The wolves help,
The
yes.
wolves,
which is great.
but like,
That's great. Like,
yeah,
you know, the
seeing
wolves are helping
their,
Perrin.
ugh.
I can't.
Okay, yeah. So they're like, that time they're like, his eyes are staying that color, and
A
like,
little, yeah.
oof. Yeah, they're
So her acting chops here get me so excited for
Yes.
next season.
when
Season
like
2.
Rafe termed one of the moments with her iconic.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I
She's
have
gonna
no doubt.
break us all in season 2.
Every single actor on stage was like, she kills it. Like there's particular things that her character needs to deal with, and she's amazing.
Yep, you can well imagine it. Yep, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
There she
And I
goes.
was one thing I mentioned in the podcast, but I'll mention here too for sure, is like, especially on the heels of Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, where there's magic. I love the integration of the weaves that we get to like physically see as the audience. It's such, I don't know, it's such a nice touch that I think distinguishes it from its counterparts, its peers in the field right now.
That's true. And I like that she was like able to here do those two flows at once, you know, throw a flow at Valda and break Perrin out at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, that's impressive.
There she goes. She grabbed the rings.
Got the rings.
Got a girl.
Yep.
These wolves too, man. Killing it.
Yep. Have we already gotten confirmation of like one of these wolves is Hopper? I feel like maybe we did, but I can't remember for sure.
I don't remember. He did say Hopper.
This one right here. This one right here, because Perrin's like, he won't hurt us. Like, that makes me think that might be Hopper.
And like, is that, now I need to go back and watch episode 2. Is that the very good boy who licked Perrin's leg?
Yeah,
I
need to look at the muzzle. I need to compare.
Yeah, I don't know.
So he did say for sure that Hopper's in season 2. So that's but I can't remember if he ever said.
Okay, all right.
That was his pack.
Maybe someone can tell us if we ever got confirmation about one of these wolves being Hopper. But
that'd be great. I wonder if it's in IMDb. I wonder if it would be great if they listed the wolves as actors.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Kate Fleetwood and Rosamund Pike together can do no wrong. The hair push behind
this
the ear
is so
and the chin.
Oh my god. Yeah. Little. Do you think that we're going to get flashbacks to their time as Accepted?
I hope so.
Tower, even?
There's something here that they're just like teasing us with, and we need to know more.
Especially with that tease today from like Rafe's answers talking about how Alana is good at keeping Moraine's secrets. I'm like,
and we'll see more of that in season 2.
I wonder if like Leandrin will be brought into that.
Maybe, yeah.
And also if Moraine suspects things about Leandrin, or if she is maybe willfully blind based on their past.
Yeah.
I think so. So she does say here about the man that she goes to meet in the.
I think that's next episode. I think that's next episode 6. Yeah.
So when she says that, I think Moraine thinks that she's going to meet a man for like, you know, sex. But that's probably
here. She just said like, you have contempt for men. So I don't know if that's fooling.
You're
Moraine.
supposed to have contempt for men. She said. So
no, but she said one thing she doesn't share is your contempt for men.
Yeah. So, but like she uses that in the next episode. She uses that against her to say like, what if your Red sisters found out? So like, I think Moraine thinks that she's meeting this man for sex.
Grendel.
But Yep.
Yeah, Grendel.
But it's probably her if she is spoiler alert, if she is a dark friend.
Yeah, see, I
It's her
always
dark
took
friend
that to mean like Moraine knows what she's got going on and that she's meeting friends of the dark.
Yeah,
But if she
I
thought that,
like-
she would. First of all, like Aes Sedai, or at least in the book, they didn't even think the Black Ajah existed. It's either did Moraine.
Well, Moraine did. Moraine.
Well, yeah,
I
I mean,
don't-
like until in New Spring she didn't think, but then she discovers.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
she knows, right? She knows for sure in New Spring, so
Yeah,
she knows.
I mean,
by
after
now.
after
Yeah.
But she would have done something a little bit more drastic than just
Do you
Yeah,
or do
I
you
mean,
think
that-
that she was like she maybe doesn't fully appreciate the impact and like what they could be doing,
Well,
and also maybe doesn't even see Leandrin as a threat, possibly because of
Maybe
what they shared when they were
maybe
wee?
she just like suspects, but she doesn't have any proof. So, like, what are you going to say? She's meeting a man, but like, she doesn't have any proof that it's anything like
Mhm.
evil, So I don't know.
The only confirmation that we got about the number of Forsaken are those statues.
Right, which
that's
are
it.
8.
The 8. And you can go through them. It's a ton of fun. We know who
is.
we're kind of getting.
A couple of them
but frame
are,
by frame.
Iffy.
My
but
favorite
yes, a lot
is
of them
by
I know.
far Samael.
Yep, I was gonna say
that is
Samael.
that like cracks me
This
up
thing
every time they
is
see
so
like
much
the
shorter than
very
that.
wee statue.
Very weird.
I hope that they're just taking that and like instead
Running
of
with
just
it.
being like 5'9", they make
He's
him
like 5'1" or 5'2" or something, and everyone else is
Yeah.
4'8",
tall.
like Hobbit height.
Yeah,
Hobbit
I
height.
hope so bad. Like they run with this, like he's got short man syndrome. Like
Yeah.
oh man, I hope they.
It would probably be more effective than casting like someone who's 5'9" who's mad he's not 6 feet. Like,
Yeah.
Am I also secretly hoping that Peter Dinklage will be in Wheel of Time? Yes. Next question.
I mean, that thought did cross my mind
That would
as
be
well. I'm not
amazing.
gonna lie.
I love him too. He's amazing. Another
Yeah.
amazing actor.
See, look at this comfort between the
I
two
know.
of them. Like
I
Moraine
know.
letting her guard down, laying down in bed.
How does Moraine just like she has chemistry with everybody? Everybody.
She's a spy.
Yeah.
And also, Moraine, get your boots off your damn bed.
I know, right? What the
True.
hell? That bothered me the most.
Alana
But I think it's
is
because like this
civilized
isn't
and
her
barefoot,
home.
That's true.
and she should. Yeah.
Moraine is like her room in Tarvalon is like a hotel, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck it,
Just
I
I'll
don't
put my
have to
boots
be
on the bed.
Another one
I
that's
don't
always
have to wash
snacking
these
too.
sheets."
Another one that's always snacking. Priyanka.
Oh yes.
My
100%.
girl. Like she's still holding her boots. Look how comfortable she is here.
I know.
I know, I love it.
Kathy and Jason got to go to the red carpet premiere in England, and they met Taylor Napier, and they also
Mhm.
interviewed him on the podcast as well. Shameless plug. But he said that he always had to have snacks on hand for her, like he was his, because he's the warder, so he always had snacks on hand.
He is the snack order in
Like-
many ways.
Many ways. Yeah. Her leaving when you guys talk about it next week as they walk out, and him just handing her a snack
love it.
immediately. It's the best. It's one of
It's
my favorite
so
moments in the whole
great.
season.
Yes. Brilliant.
Oh, this is also really like, let's talk about polyamory.
Yeah.
Let's talk about getting in with Ivan and Maxim.
I know. They're just like casual. Like we're talking about polyamory. We're talking about bisexuality. Like
Mhm.
it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
First time for everything. Like maybe.
Yep. You're assuming they want you. Oh.
That's a good point. Rose said she's more at home
I
in
know.
her
I
boots
just saw that.
than in the bed. I like that.
That is, oof, that is good.
Yeah, that is
Mhm.
good. That's very good. And this gets me because he's like, okay, like we know what's in Stepan's mind right now, but he's like taking this moment to like try and encourage Lan, like push him a little bit towards love. And
Mhm.
that's
This is another scene I feel like could have been just a smidge shorter.
No, see this one I love. I don't want them to touch this one.
I love it, but like I just want more other stuff.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
I missed a little bit of like, Rand and Matt was a little bit light in this episode and stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah.
Like I wish, well, not I wish. Like episodes like this, I really love like slow burn scenes like that because it feels like the world of like this is the first
Yeah.
time where it didn't feel, well, episode 4 didn't really either, but like where it didn't feel rushed and it actually
Mhm.
felt like we were just like taking a beat and really spending time in
Yeah.
the
In the-
Westlands.
I do
just
appreciate
in
And
the
like
world.
and that's why, when people complain like, oh, it's not like the book or whatever, it's like, no, but like it is like the whole books. Like it's
Yeah.
so nice to just be able to not have every episode build in like this cliffhanger or like not every scene needs to end with this dramatic like
Yeah.
stay tuned for the next
Yeah.
5
Nynaeve
minutes. Like,
exploding
it's
and
just,
healing everybody that almost died. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like it's a slow burn. It's the conversations, it's
World
the
building.
communication and everything that's not really said but is like said with body language and everything and like all of that. Knife is gone. Not a single word was stated. It's just it's impactful and it's slow, and I
This
love it.
episode, I think, is the best in terms of scenes that communicate
the
without
tower.
words. Like there's
Yes.
there's so much of that in this episode, and I do really appreciate that.
Mhm.
So there's a big thing I want to like point out here, like when Lan finds Stepan. So we're gonna like see in a minute, like as he like goes and like touches him, like he stays very stoic in this scene, which I think is just
There's a
important.
silly question.
Oh, Georgie. I've seen Georgie. And someone said about this scene that it's the way that he's stabbed is a certain, I can't remember. I
Seppuku.
can't remember if it's, thank you.
Oh, okay.
It's a Japanese samurai like seppuku.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so as I was saying, like Lan is very stoic here, and I just think that's important because like some people don't like the final scene where Lan lets out a lot of emotion and
Intentionally.
yes. So I just think, like we see Lan where nothing is being demanded of him in that previous scene. Like that's just how he sort of forces himself to stay on his own. We know he has intense emotions underneath. Like that is a part of his character.
Yeah.
And
But
so we're giving him an excuse to let it out here.
Also,
He's-
he's literally being assigned the task
Exactly.
to
Yes.
feel the pain and
Right.
display it for everybody. Like that's
So
like,
it
this
is,
And this is
traditional-
is this Korean custom?
I believe
I think so,
so.
yeah.
I think so. So I want to know as well, like one of my questions for Rafe is how much of this was influenced by Daniel Henney versus, director and script writers, because this is a, I know Daniel Henney, even with his costuming, he had a pretty big impact in saying, and he wanted to honor his Korean culture in that.
Mhm.
And this, like with being assigned to mourn, and that's why
Right.
it's not breaking Lan's character, because if there's one thing that Lan does, full stop, it's he commits. Lan
Mhm.
goes full throttle, and in this moment, oh my
And
gosh,
he
the look
I
between
think
him
he
and Moraine.
resists a little bit, like but then this moment that's passing between them, like he's feeling her emotions, she's feeling his emotions. There's a feedback loop there, and then he really lets it out, like with anger, to some extent
That's the end
too.
of that. You cannot like the show and still be respectful. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, Georgie has been banned from more than a few Discords.
I'm not surprised. Oh, you cannot like the show and still be respectful. So that I don't want to give anyone any platforms, dedicate any of my time to nonsense. But that's all I'll say. The other thing is specifically about the Korean and Asian culture with the Borderlands, especially Malkir. They are Asian, like they're Asian people in the books,
Mhm.
and they're like even Lan's armor. So the episode is over now, people. So don't worry about the timer anymore. The Asian, I mean the Borderlanders, what is it? The Eastern Borderlanders are very Asian inspired in their traditions and in their their physical appearance. The Faldaran armor looks very Japanese samurai-esque looking, and for Daniel Henney to like lean more on his Korean culture for the Malkier is perfectly fitting. I mean, if it isn't book canon, like I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, "Oh, we read the notes and it's in the book." Like that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but even like the scene like with him like ripping the shirt too, like that is drawn from the same thing. Like people, so I know that was a big thing. Like he's crying. Lan would never cry. You know, he's mourning and yelling and expressing himself, and yeah, then the ripping of the shirt, which I mean the first time I saw it I was like, well, that seems intense, and then you do a little bit more reading into the actual grieving and the assigned, like the chief mourner, and like that is all like, yeah, so I see that in the show, and
yes, Sean, it is.
Yes. You see that in the show, and it just really indicates like one of like so many of the influences that RJ drew on himself. And you know, if you have questions, you can read Origins.
And also Origins from like a storytelling perspective too. You have a character like Lan who he is outwardly very stoic, doesn't typically display a lot of emotion outwardly, but we know that he has intense emotions. That's part of his character underneath. So you want to show that, you want that to be communicated to the audience. You create a situation where those internal emotions that he has can be expressed in a way that makes sense, so that you can show that dichotomy, that contrast that exists in his character. So I think it was very smart. And so again, we see that stoic Lan in that previous scene. It's there.
And we see emotional Lan too in the books too. It's just in his head and through the bond. Like it's Moiraine making side comments that like Lan is feeling something through the bond, or understanding Lan's feelings through the bond. Like you can't do that on the show though. So in the show, when Lan is safe in a safe space to be able to let down his exterior, to be vulnerable when he's alone with Moiraine. He does it when he's in the bath with Moiraine, when he's alone with her in a room and talking to her, or when he's alone with the warders during a funeral ceremony. Like it's not like he's crying in the middle of the street because he's upset that his friend died,
or broing out around a campfire and laughing and having fun. Like all of these things are very possible. And like one of the, and I'm not going to go on a huge rant, but like one of the biggest things that frustrates me when people critique the show and they talk about Lan specifically is like they want to perpetuate this toxic masculinity.
Thank you.
You know, depiction that might be in the books, when all we're really seeing of Lan is everyone else's perspective. We never really get Lan's perspective until much later. And then it's
lo and behold, he's not. Lo and behold, he has emotions.
Like he's a complicated person. Obviously, he chose to be a warder, so he's got a lot going on. He has a whole complex history, and you think that someone is just going to like show no emotion at any time? Like that is unreasonable, and it doesn't make sense with what we know about these characters. Why is every other character allowed to have shades of gray, and Lan has to be this like stereotypical mold of Aragorn? Like, no, thank you. Give me Daniel Henney.
And we have to
like complex boy
perpetuate the toxic idea that showing emotion is weak.
Right?
I just
tears.
Sorry, no, it's good. No, it's you said exactly what I was going to say. It's just they're getting rid of this toxic type of character that's in like, he's basically like Conan the Barbarian in the beginning of the books, in the sense of like he just doesn't care about anything, he kills everything, he's a big strong guy. Like it's stupid. All right, well, now
it's boring.
It's boring. Like for like obviously, like if you like you're so emotional that you scream about a book being accurate to a TV show, but you want your actors to not have emotion. Like you want your actors to be sociopaths. Like it's just a weird juxtaposition to have, to be so upset about an adaptation of a book to a TV show, but then be mad that that the characters have emotions about things like, their friends dying. So it's weird. It's just a weird position.
It's also weird to want to watch a show where people don't like show emotions, where people are very
emote.
Blank faced and not emoting. Yeah, that's not how
more
TV
about you
works.
as a
But like,
person.
let's also speak about Lan even in the books and Eye of the World specifically. Like he goes to the Blight and he evokes panty dropping poetry.
It's true.
Just casually to Nynaeve.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're going to tell me that this stoic man who never cries, who never like breaks, his ironclad facade, this, stone-faced man suddenly just comes out with poetry from nowhere. And Nynaeve's like, yeah, that tracks. And Rand, as he's watching this, is like, yeah, that tracks. No. Like, of course this man expresses and shows things. He's just a little bit more reserved with his words, which we do see in the show in episode 2 when Matt is like, that's more words than you've spoken today, probably ever.
Yes.
That's great.
But yeah, he has layers as a character. That's something that Robert Jordan literally wrote, was like that he had layers. So yeah.
I'm saying, Arosa. I'm saying. Sorry. But it's just, oh, man, these characters they're not like, this is so much more real. Like it's so much, I don't know. I like this so much better. I like these versions of our characters much better.
Daniel Henney brought a lot on screen to Lan, and this
was a great episode for him.
This really episode for it in particular, because we do see so much nuance where he's comfortable, where he can let his guard down, where he speaks a little bit more, where he listens. I mean, the fact that, like Matt way back in the first couple of episodes, all Lan says when he introduces himself is, I'm Lan Mandragoran and this is Moiraine, full stop. And then, we get a couple other side comments here and there, but like mostly he's just supporting his girl. And in this episode, we see him, talking, as we saw with Stepan, like he's talking about his real feelings for Nynaeve and like, what do I do about this? And it's just, it makes him a fully realized person and not just and again, it's poor construct.
Which is in the books too, but it's just layered below things, and you have to kind of read into it or wait sometimes.
And like this is the way TV shows work. Like you can't have everything be internal and not shown, not expressed, because no one will understand it. And that's why so many changes had to happen with Perrin as a character, because the dude doesn't talk.
But before we get too deep into it, and we could still, we'll go for like another, we'll call it another 10 minutes before we come off the air, guys. Make sure to get your questions. I saved a bunch of good questions from y'all throughout the show. Don't worry, I love my little program where I get to star your responses, so I can go back and look at them later. But make sure to get those questions out. Get them in now so that we can consider them when we're going to pick them, because we're going to pick them right after we get off the air. Okay, guys? So just start throwing them in there. Think about some stuff that happened during this episode that you have some questions about. Okay. Anyway, and if you post them on Twitter, make sure you do the @ReWoTch. And real quick, I just want to make sure everyone remembers who our lovely guest was.
Yes.
Can you tell our friends where they could find you on the interwebs?
The interwebs, yes. Delusions of Grendel, Grendel12 on Twitter. I also have a podcast, Feather and Mountain Podcast. You can find us on Twitter. We're also in the Wheel Reads Discord. We have a little nook there. If you want to come hang out and chat and also start listening to the Wheel Reads, that's great too. We're on Twitter. We're I think everywhere you can find podcasts. We should be on most, if not every platform. And yeah, we're currently rewatching season 1 as we eagerly await the episode or season 2 drop date, which I think is going to happen before the end of the year. I don't know. Paint me in clown makeup, We'll see. But I've got like strong hopes that it's.
I'm right behind you.
Sometime between March and May.
I support
sometime
this.
in there.
I
I'm
support
going. I'm going
Okay.
April. I'm calling it. I don't know.
That'd be
if
a great
that's gonna
birthday
be
present.
true.
I
Right,
would
like
like
April
it.
7th, I think, and that way we can all
The day
watch it
before my
together.
birthday.
Oof.
We can
All
all
right.
watch it together at JordanCon
Mark it
as the
down.
episodes come out.
Oh
Think
man,
about
that would
that.
be
Great.
nuts.
We used to, JordanCon used to line up with the Game of Thrones premiere almost every year. So Sunday night of JordanCon, we used to have
Oh.
big Game of Thrones watch parties. It was a lot of fun.
Oh man,
It'd be
that
great
would
to
be
do that for the
great.
Wheel of Time.
But yeah, like especially if it came out. I don't know if they're going to continue like what they did with Rings of Power because they changed it for Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
So it changed it for me from like a 6 p.m. release to a 10 p.m. release. So I
didn't
can
like
still watch it same
that.
day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Makes it
I'd like
much
it to go
tougher.
back to 6 p.m.
Me
for
too.
Mountain
Please.
Standard Time, please.
Please. That was so nice.
So back to reality. No, sorry. Back to LAN again for a minute.
Okay.
I want to pull up a picture that I forgot that I had put in here because it's so this is the cover art for the Eye of the
Yes.
World.
Yeah.
Look at all that canonical armor that he
That
definitely
never-
has.
Extremely
Never,
canonical
ever.
armor.
Ever wears armor. Like he wears leather armor forever, and that's it.
And that weirdo helmet that we've got here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely has that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Moiraine and he's 11 feet tall.
And
Yes.
she's
And of
4
course,
and a
Nick
half.
Cage is always in the Wheel of
Yep,
Time.
Nick
as well.
Cage. Yeah, you gotta.
You have to
I
watch
can't
for him.
zoom in on this picture, but if you can go grab the original cover art for Eye of the World and just look at that Rand, it's Nick Cage all the way.
It's Nick Cage.
Yeah.
So
So
All
the
right,
whatchamacallit, the other bit that I really liked, and I want to mention again, is just the way they have Lan and Moiraine communicate in this. And I just want to say it again because I like it so much. It made me think of, there's a couple of scenes in Ocean's 11 with George Clooney and Brad Pitt where they're like having a conversation and Brad Pitt never responds to George Clooney, but George Clooney has his entire side of the conversation as if Brad Pitt is answering him. And Moiraine and Lan do that like 4 times. And it's one of my favorite things.
it really is. It like builds off that the scene in episode 1 where you can see like how they are in battle, how they just anticipate each other's moves, how Lan is able, like he knows when to duck, he knows when to dodge. The two of them are so seamless, and it's really wonderful to see that continue and not just battle, but yeah, like the grip on each other's forearms, the eye communication, the just like Moiraine clearly feeling like the depths of his grief before he even starts to mourn. Like the two of them are such a wonderful pairing, and like the chemistry is off the charts. And I'm so excited to see their journey in season 2 together when it's really just the two of them and we get to spend some quality time hanging
That's a
out
good
with
point.
them.
We just get so much more of the two of them than we got at this point in the books. So it's it's awesome.
Speaking of season 2 with them, Delusion, what do you think is up with Moiraine? So spoilers for the end of this show, but I'm sure if you haven't watched like episode 8, then spoilers for a second. But she can't channel at the end. So
yeah,
what do you
definitely
think
shielded because we see the shield go over her, and because of everything that had happened in episode 4, seeing that shield should be so familiar to the viewer. We literally see Ishii put it, the dark one. The dark one. Put the shield over top of her.
The teaser as well.
In the trailer.
They which is see, that's something I wish they played with that too. Like this isn't like the whole hand moving thing with the Aes Sedai. I wish they played with that a bit more and made it a better reveal. Like make the characters think they killed the Dark One. Because like Rand in the books, he even says Shaitan because that's how confident he is that
the world shakes.
Yeah, that was cool. Like it would be really cool for them to be so confident that they killed the
Although
Dark
Moiraine never believed that because like she watches that scene in the books and she says the dragon has been reborn. So she knows like that was not the last battle. That was not the Dark One. Like hold your horses, my
Yeah.
son.
Mhm.
But
Well,
I
guess we could have Rand still having that confidence.
he might go into like
Yeah.
season 2 with a little swagger, as long as they don't do Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire swagger
dancing.
down like the wall. Like that's like Rand like strolling into Kyrian.
With the flip. Oh man, that would be rough.
No, I definitely think they've changed that, and that's good. I never liked Rand being like that much of a dumbass, to be honest.
He's
So,
gonna
like,
be pouty. He's already pouty.
okay, pouty, sure. I could deal with some pouty. It's just that, like, I mean, come on. Like
The arrogance of
it's
thinking that you
too
just killed
much
the
to
Dark One
think
like
you just
that.
did it like without even knowing what you were doing, just
Yeah.
like on accident.
Yeah.
No, it's too much. He's not that dumb. Come on.
All right. So we are crossing the 10-minute mark now.
All right, yeah. All right. So I think we got our questions. I mean, so we're gonna pick.
Yeah,
what
we're
we
going to
got.
pick from the questions that we got. Thank you very much for coming and hang out with us. I want to shameless plug for our next week's episode when we will be joined by Rob from Malkier Talks.
Oh
My
no, not
gosh,
yet.
to talk all
I think
about
he's the week
sapphic
after.
Is he the
love.
week after? Who's next week?
I'm pretty sure we have one of
Oh,
the
it's Leafcast. It's
Leafcast
my puppet friends.
puppet
It's
friends
my
next
puppet
week,
friends.
and
Oh
then
my gosh.
Rob. From
I can't
Malkier
believe you're going to
Talks.
have Ryan and Dan on to talk about On Your Knees. This show is going to go off the rails.
It's going to
Good
be
point.
amazing. I'm so excited. we will. I will be joining them in the drinking obligations for the sexual innuendo that comes up during the show. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We got to see if we can get Puppet Tom to join too.
Definitely with his very swanky blazer.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and
Thank
make
you
sure
so
to
much
check out
for
Delusions.
having me.
Yeah,
Make sure
we
to
loved having
check
you.
out Delusions over on Twitter and check out her podcast. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Good night.